good day, Mr. Darling. Today we're basically tasked to create a shell script that would basically accept two parameters. The first one would be the text file, and this and the second would be the names we basically be searching for. For the first parameter, right here it basically instructs us that it should be relative to our home path directory. So it would be our home path and then the file name. Right here we do have an example. We have this file name named names.txt, and that has this content. And if we do execute our script, it should look something like this, and it should filter names that contain as their last name and Lewis, as right here, and it should basically say goodbye. So if we go right ahead and then if we check so right here this is my home directory. As you can see, the tilde. I have these two file names. The first one is basically your one, which I basically just to test it out, and it has Jane Smith, Hope Lewis, Peter Smith, and Pam Lewis. And I do have another one which is basically test file .txt, which yeah, so the test file .txt, which basically has a and its content as Aaron Garcia, Miguel Avila, Manuel de Capo Avila, Lewis Chavarria Avila, Jenny Castro Pilano Avila, Jera Castillo, and Aaron Canchan. So so this is where basically execute my script. I basically source the file so that I could basically have access to the function name. Um and with that we can basically go ahead and execute the script. So then for instance, if we do this one, this should basically return us what we have right there. So we do my lookup, and then in this case it would be sample um sample file.txt, and then we're searching for Lewis. And as we can see, this is our results, and then right here we do have our result for Lewis and Palm Lewis, and you say goodbye. So what would happen if in the instance that we basically don't provide uh the last name we want to search for? It'll basically tell us that we need to provide two arguments for this script to work, and then right here is the usage my lookup, and then the file name last name. And if we also basically don't pass anything, so basically we be executed again. And if we go ahead and try to execute it but without the txt, we basically say that it's still right there. So we can also uh, execute it, but execute it with a non-file, a file not found, and then we could basically say that the file does not exist, and then it just say please provide me with a file for me to find out the name based on the last name you provided. But since we did not find a correct file name, it basically throws an error. So if we do our next one, in this case would be test file.txt, test file.txt, and then Avila to basically filter all of the names that have Avila, regardless of if they are three name or four name, just like this. So if we look at the code, I basically created a function so that I could basically source it, and this function would be basically available for me to execute it rather than basically I'm using the dot backslash. So that's why I created it into function. And right here it basically is pulling out the first two parameters. And with that, we basically check to see if the parameters are not empty. If they are empty, they just um If they are not empty, it will basically execute this. But if they are empty, it would basically this will become false and execute this one, which is basically an error message with the usage. Um, so this is basically checking if the files are not empty, and as well, it's checking if the file name contains a .txt at the end. If this is true, then we will basically concatenate the file name that the user provided with our home path directory, since that is what you wanted. So basically, we put the $sign home, which will basically return us our home directory. We could do echo hashtag home to basically return our home directory. And after that, we'll basically check if the file exists. If the file does not exist, we'll then print an error that the file does not exist, and basically provide more info that we need a file to basically execute our grep command. In such a case that it basically the file is there, we will then print the result with a new line, and then the regex file to match the last name that the user provided, as which was their second parameter. So in this case, I basically have this regex. I'm excluding the groups. I only want the final result. In this case, um either case sensitive. I'm searching for all lower and upper um alphabets. And right here, I'm basically doesn't matter, like it could be Miguel, for instance, right here, because if I don't pass this, it will basically only filter the first word. In this case would be M, but I don't want that. So I want every every single character of the word. And after that, I'm checking for a space. In this case, I could basically Miguel Angel and then Avila as well. Basically, I'm skipping the space in the space. And basically right here, I'm checking for multiple results. And of course, I'm checking for the last. So if you can see right here, this is basically for the first. I don't care. Like it could be a four-letter a four-word a line, but this will basically check for the first year. And then of course, since we have this $sign, this is basically telling it, oh, I want for my last for the last word, I wanted you to match this one. And of course, basically I'm excluding the group and then just filtering the last name. And right here, this would be the file name, which we basically concatenated with our home directory with the file. That would be it. Thank you, Mr. Darling, for watching. Goodbye.